to Getting Tabled. I'm Jason the Bruce, and that's Brother Bear.
Hey, how you going?
And welcome to the Jwar Isles. This is our Bushido series where we're going to start going through all of the factions in Bushido and give you a general idea of where to start, maybe a couple of options and what to add to that to bring it up to a full tournament list. Just to give you an idea of, just so that you're not walking into things blind. Today we're actually starting on Ben's favourite faction, which is the Minimoto clan. We're looking at the bear.
Yeah, the bear clan.
That's a theme.
It definitely is. There's a lot of bear references throughout this army, so you'll see them. In fact, there's a lot of references to each of the armies throughout their own factions.
Yeah, very much.
But yeah. So, what did you want to start with? Strength and weaknesses, or?
Yeah, look. Let's start on this. Generally, how the force actually works. Because every faction has their own things. Something they're good at, things that they're not good at, and it's deliberate. It's not accidental. So.
Yes, so Minamoto clan is reliant on their heavy armor, their access to like fire weapons. What else? Like that their ability bear stands alone, where the fighter can be quite resilient, quite independent. So you can so in case you get separated from your main line, they're going to be a competent fighter and reliable. Attrition,
steadfast as well.
Yeah, steadfast will be quite a predominant theme. So that's like the strengths. So steadfast is quite good because even if you're afraid, so they're quite so their background, they're used to fighting like monsters and everything like that. So they're quite used to fighting against the horrible Bakemono. So even if they're frightened, you can allocate your dice however you want to, instead of like all defensive, which is the normal. So I would say they're one of the very good starters to have as a beginner because they're very forgiving. The other sort of beginner-friendly ones I would probably recommend Ryu or Ito, which I think we were talking about maybe doing next, maybe. But yeah, what else? They get access to they did a big sort of range, so they've got so they've extended the range, so they've got access to a lot more stuff than they originally had. But we'll talk about the starter set as you mentioned. I think.
Weaknesses wise, I know one of the big ones is that their key is usually quite slow to build, so you kind of have to save up for those abilities.
There
tend to be a little bit elite-ish. They're leaning towards the heavy point side because of some of the skills they've got. I mean, there's definitely bigger things out there elite-wise, but
yeah, that's true. So they're low movement. They'll always be movement minimum of 4. Yeah, they're encased in. Majority of the dudes are encased in armor, so they're going to be moving. And they're in the Iron Mountains as well. So they're going to be trudging through snow is basically their sort of thing. But they're going to be a bit slow to move. Unfortunately, they don't have access to heal, nor do they have access to abilities to increase their movement. I think that's their sort of their shtick. It's going to be their constant themes there. But they do have access to really cool weaponry and stuff like that, and enhancements.
The other thing, the best place to start off with is obviously going to be the starter set because they have one. I've got it up on the screen now. So you start with 5 models. They're all on 30 mil bases.
Yep. So there's you'll have very few sort of big models to paint, but the models that are big are really worth painting. They're great, but anyway, we'll touch on those later. But yeah.
Yep. And each of the starter sets usually set you out at around the 70 point mark. Sorry, 70 rice mark, which is that's probably where you want to start for a starter game anyway.
Yeah, so if you're brand new to the game, just play with just a starter box set. Like if I versed you with a starter box set, it's usually about 70 rice. They're pretty even across the factions. That's going to give you. I mean, the game can be quite complex, but it's going to give you a good idea to start. Once you start throwing in enhancement cards and event cards, that's where your rice is going to bulk up. Your tournament list is usually 100 rice. 70 rice is usually the best way to start learning. Even you can do smaller if you really want to. But yeah, these are going. This starter box set also is going to give you a lot of option. So you can start going down, for example, the Ashigaru sort of way, or you can start heading towards like the samurai way, or you can have a bit of a mix. Did you want to talk about theme card, or do you want to do that last?
No, let's start with the models because I think that's what people are going to want to say. You want to start it with the Ashigaru, or do you want to start with your samurai?
We'll start with Aya. This is this. So let's start with like she. So Masame Aya. She's an Ashigaru. She's 16 rice, but she's a gunzo. She's basically so gunzo means sergeant basically. So she's like the leader of like and as you can see from her card, she's a veteran. She's been around for a while. So she's a combat of 3. She can boost that for 3 ki. She's got a range of 3, movement 4. As you can see, she's got, we mentioned before, low ki. She's got only 1 ki generates per turn. She's got a Tetsubo. She's got push attack. So a lot of you guys are going to have push attack or sweep attack. That's like that. That's how Minamoto sort of play. They push the enemy away or they knock them down and do more damage. She's got armor 3. Bear stands alone. She's got endurance. So she suffers no melee penalties for being exhausted, which is really good. She's fearless and she's resistant too. So this model doesn't have steadfast, but she doesn't need it. My favorite key feat for this model is veteran. So it's got veteran there. It's cost you 1 ki. It's instant and it just affects you. Model doesn't suffer any melee penalties. That's pretty good, especially in melee. Until the end of this melee is resolved. Military training as well, which is a once per turn activation. You can generate a pass token. Yeah, it's good, but you're not going to really use it that much. It's very situational, but it's still pretty good. So we'll talk about bear stands alone because that's going to be a common thing that everyone's going to see.
Yes.
So as you can see on this card, it gives you an explanation of what that is. So while no friendly models are within 3 inches of this model gains Indomitable +1. So Indomitable means that, as you can see, this model ignores 1 additional enemy model in base-to-base contact when checking outnumbered in a melee exchange. So their fluff is like they're used to the Bakemono hordes. So they that's what they're used to being outnumbered, and they're quite a reliable and durable fighter. So she doesn't care, which is great. There is another card. The mountain moves for 1 rice. Basically, it gives you vengeance enemy. It's amazing for 1 rice, whilst there's no friendly models around you.
The only requirement of this is that it has to be an Ashigaru, which she is, so that's fine.
Yeah. So that's going to give you like a boost there. She's in your starter. She's a great choice. She's a bit of a beat stick. She'll go off and she'll do what she does best, which is fighting. But yeah, she's really, really reliable. Armor 3, it's great. And just the fearless is amazing. And the endurance as well is great. Raiko, yeah, so this is a bit different. So I mentioned how Minamoto are all about armor. This is an unblessed model that comes in the starter.
So he hasn't earned his stripes yet, basically.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So on the model, you'll see he'll have like little rings of metal. Basically, the more he fights and the greater the deeds that he does, the more access he'll eventually get to becoming an armored Ashigaru. But yeah, he's a named character for 10 points. He's really he's good because of his ability which is gang. But we'll talk about his other stats. So his movement 4, stock standard across Minamoto. Attack 3, he can boost that if he wants. He's got 1 ki, so low ki generation. Staff has got sweep attack 1, bear stands alone and steadfast, but gang is where this model becomes really, really good. So for 3 ki, so you probably do this about turn 3, which is usually the turn that you're in combat with a lot of models. This model gains coordinated attack Ashigaru until the end phase. So coordinated attack, you add +1 melee dice to your pool. If you're in combat with another enemy, and there's another friendly, which is an Ashigaru model. It doesn't help you with your samurai, but I mean, still, it's pretty good. His unique effects is if he's in line of sight of a blacksmith model, he gains a charming charging bonus of fearless. So you can throw them into like an oni or something that causes fear, like your Ito. Yeah, yes, you can throw him in that, and he's just going to go, cool, I don't care, because my blacksmith says everything's going to be okay. And for 10 rice, he can hold up like a model above his cost. And you can just go, yeah, I got 3 dice. I'm just going to go all defense. I don't care. I'm just going to hold you up for a couple of turns, which can be pretty devastating to like a plan for an opponent.
I'm just going to quickly go through steadfast now that we have a model that has it.
Yep.
The model may freely choose how to allocate dice in melee exchanges when frightened. If this model declares an action to bring it base to base with the model with fear and fails the fear test, it continues the action and becomes frightened. So even if it's scared, you can still allocate your dice however you want. That's going to be very helpful. Because normally, you get forced to throw it all into defense and you can't really do anything.
Yeah. So for 10 rice, this is really, really good. So like you can help your other guys, even if they have bare stands alone, or he can just sit there and go, cool, big scary monster, I'm just going to move in combat with you, and I'm just going to throw defense. And like this game is all about activation tokens, and you can strip those activation tokens by just holding something up, and it's just going to cause problems for your opponent. So for 10 rice, he's really, really well costed. The other unblessed Ashigaru are about 8 rice each. You can take 2 of them. So if you really, really want to, you can take 3. But I mean, this gives you access to a cheap unit in an expensive army.
Yep.
I think we'll talk. We mentioned blacksmiths, so gain charging bonus. So we'll bring up Haru. So this is my go-to blacksmith because I face a lot of control and poison in my, I hate the word, meta. But yeah, so he's a blacksmith. He's got 2 combat. He's not a hero. He's a supportive character. That's what they do. He's got movement of 4. He's got low key of 1. He's got blacksmith hammer, which hasn't got any benefit to it. He's immune to fire, which is great. His leadership, Minamoto 1. Anybody within 6 inches gains +1 leadership, which is really good. Resistance 2 and steadfast. I love this model because he's holding the big giant Tetsubo above his head and he's blessing it with specialist knowledge. And a lot of people look at it and go oh, does he have a Tetsubo? Oh, I'm just going to avoid him, but he doesn't. He's got a simple little blacksmith hammer, which is cool. So specialist knowledge is a 1 key. It's a complex action, so it's going to take both of your activations to do it. But the model that is in base contact gains the weighted Tetsubo, which is a big weapon, PS2 melee, which is really, really good. So you'll see his profile there. Cleansing Flame this is the part that I sort of use him on. So as I mentioned, I face a lot of control, and I face a lot of Ito players with damn blood of Orochi. So when I perform this, you love it. When I perform this Cleansing Flame, this complex action, I remove all Berserk, Blind, Control, Poison, Spirit Marker, Spirit Block markers from models in the pulse, which is of 6 inches, and each model gains Fire 1 marker. So not only are you removing that from your guys, but everybody else as well. So that's really, really cool. But also, I can run this up and I can set fire to a bunch of people as well if I wanted to. His unique effects. Also, he's immune to fire, so he doesn't care about setting himself on fire. His unique effect is because he's in your warband, you can have access to a fire kami or a metal kami, which is pretty cool. Fire kami would be your go-to if you had to pick one of the 2.
So, speaking of fire kami.
Yep.
Which is the Kami of the Evening Flame.
Yep, 8 rice. You can take 2 of them. So you can have a Kami A and a Kami B. In the box set, when you purchase it, it does come with 2. One's a phoenix and one's like a dragon. Looks quite cool. So it's 2 attack. It's movement 6, which is pretty fast. So you have some faster moving ability there. He's got range. He's got 2 dice for range. He doesn't generate ki because he's a kami, but he's got 2 in the bank, which is basically his health. But when he does damage, like in combat, he does a fire 1. You do 1 fire, so you do 1 fire 2 token, and he also has combo attack. You're never really going to use combo attack because if you're ever in combat, something's gone horribly wrong because your fire kami is more of a shooting element to it. But he's going to be shooting. You're going to be casting a lot of fireball, which once it does damage, does 1 fire 2 token. The range of the fireball is 2, 3, and 4. And he's got his abilities there like Agile, Cloud Walk, Dodge 1, which is really good. And Durable, Evasive, Insignificant, Kami, and Solace. Insignificant is okay, and he's not going to... Enemies can sort of move around him, but also because he's got Evasive and Agile, he can move and do that as well. What you're really taking him for, as well as the range, is his unique effects. Probably not the first one, but go back. So what you're really taking him for is not only his shooting ability, but also his range as his unique effects. So whilst this model suffers a wound whilst in combat, the enemy gains a fire 2 marker. So if you take damage, you're going to deal some damage on an opponent, which is pretty good. So this other effect is alright. The first one is very situational. So remove this model from play, and all models within 2 inches gain a fire 2 token. So if you know he's going to die, you can dish out some damage to a bunch of guys if you want. It's only a limited range of 2, but also that's going to affect not only your models but the opponents. But this second one is the one that you take it for. Is 1 model within base-to-base contact gains +1 strength and fire. So you can place them next to one of your samurai or a ranged model, and that model's going to get +1 strength and fire, which to the end phase, which is pretty good. If you're taking a blacksmith, usually you're going to be taking a fire kami. We did mention like adding on stuff. If you were to, so for example, if you were to get the starter set, maybe a fire kami would be worth having, or fire kami and swapping out for a different blacksmith is up to you. We'll move on to another one of the Ashigaru models, Yoshinibo. I like him for 14 rice. He's a really good fighter. Your standard Minamoto Ashigaru are about, I think they're 12, 13. So yeah, I think they're 12, sorry. So for 2 extra rice, you're getting so much more. So 3 combat, movement 4, health of 7, range 2, 1 ki, so low generation. Tetsubo, he's got +2 strength with his. He's got powerful attack 1, sweep attack, which is good, and he's got push attack, which is really, really good. Push attack is 0, so it doesn't cost you any dice to perform that attack. Armor 3, bear stands alone, steadfast, but what makes him really, really good is mountain stance. So for 2 ki, this model gains immovable, which is described there on the card. So basically, you're going to move him up to a location. You're going to go, this is it. This is where he's going to stay, and he's going to be doing some fighting.
He also doesn't gain prone markers, which is insanely.
That's amazing as well. Yeah. So as a Minamoto player, like things that I probably do fear are prone, because you lose an activation to stand back up, and that's less fighting that you're going to be able to do, or less movement. So yeah, for 14 rice, he's really good. His other ability, conditioning, does make him sort of good, but for that's 1 ki, so he gains resistance 2, which is good. So if you can see that he's going to potentially, it's instantaneous as well. Somebody's going, I'm going to declare to do something on it. You can spend that ki and make him resistance 2, which is it's good. So if you've got like me, and you're gonna have somebody come up who's got controlling sort of ability or something like that, that can help you there as well. I think that's going to bring us to the big boy, the samurai, Minamoto Yuji.
Yep.
Yes. So this is your big samurai, big fighter, big monstrous sort of character in the starter set. So yeah, he's 20 rice, combat 4. You can boost that for 3, movement 4. He's got ki generation of 2, 7 wounds like everybody else. Tetsu has got +2 strength. He's got push attack 0 and stun attack, which is really, really good. So stun attack 1 is spending a dice and you cause a stun marker on your opponent. It's nasty. He's got armor 4, so he's like your heavily armed samurai. That's what they are all about. He's got bear stands alone, bravery. So if you're going to charge into something that causes fear, that bravery is reliable, especially if you fail, and we all roll ones. You can re-roll those dice, which is good. This is where you're paying for his cost. He's got Indomitable +1 already, so that ties into his bear stands alone. So he ignores X model, so 1 model in base contact already. So he's used to being outnumbered all the time. He's got melee prowess 1, which majority of all samurai do have. So you get to re-roll 1 dice in combat. You can make that. So before you resolve combat, you can choose to re-roll 1 dice. So you can do that with your defense dice or your melee attack dice. When you're playing with a samurai, you probably want to re-roll that defense dice if it's really bad. But it gives you that option, which is really, really good. He's got resistance 2. He's got steadfast. He's also got mighty blow, which is his key feat. So mighty blow is cost you 2 rise, 2 key, and it gives you strong, which is really, really good.
But only during the melee phase.
Correct. Yeah. So you're gonna roll 3d6 and pick the highest 2, which is cool. So with a lot of the samurai, they have like their unique effects, which is where we're going into like the bear themes. So his is Bear's Fury. So whilst he's got 4 wound markers on him, his melee weapon gains powerful attack 0. So powerful attack which is really great. It gives you +3 strength to the damage roll. So this guy has damage 5 when you pull that off. So yeah, he's going to go up to a big enemy and just give it a big massive uppercut and just do a lot of damage there. There is some people don't like taking Yuji because he's got limited sort of key feats. Some people prefer other samurai, which we can sort of talk about if you wanted to. Yeah, so that's pretty much what comes in the starter box. You got other cards. So for example, there's a theme card, which is Army of Minamoto. There's also another card which is called theme card, which is called the Finest Steel. But there's other theme cards that come in the starter box set.
As far as the add-ons is concerned, there's one that I know that you suggested when we were talking off camera, which is not an addition, but it's going to replace our Blacksmith with a different one. So this is Kajia.
Kajia, yes.
So slightly cheaper at 9 rice, so you're saving a little bit of points there, which will add up later on.
Yep. So Kajia, what's good about him is if you were to take, say for example, if you were to take a Fire Kami, this is the guy that makes them better. So she's got 2 attack, movement of 3. He's a bit less movement, so he's a bit slow because he's got more stuff to carry. So if you actually look at the model, he's got a bit more of a backpack, and he's actually got a big sort of metal slab that he's hammering away at. In fact, I actually do like this model because his arm he's holding the blade that he's the dedicated blade which he's making. He's forging it, but his arm is on fire as well, and it leads up all the way to his arm. It's really, really cool. So he's combat 2. He's not going to be. He's not a fighter. He's there. He's a supporting character. He does generate more ki compared to the other one. So he's the other Blacksmith, Haru. So he has 2, and he can store 8. So he's a bit more reliable there. His Blacksmith hammer does have +1 strength. So he's not great, but he might be able to hurt something. Like all blacksmiths, he's immune to fire because he's used to getting his hands burnt. His leadership +1 for Minamoto, which is great within anyone within 6 inches of him. Resistance 2, Spirit 1. So Spirit 1 gives him +1 ki, which is good. And he's got Steadfast. The main reason why you're taking him, as I mentioned, is to boost your Fire Kami or your Metal Kami if you want to. But you're taking him for this reason, which is called Blade Dedication. So It's going to cost you 3 ki, so you probably get this off second turn. So choose an enemy model in a pulse range, and that model gains a dual token. So you're choosing an enemy model, and you're basically going to go, that one is going to have a dual token. So you just mark that on that opponent's card. One friendly samurai model, so you can only give it to a samurai, so it's wasted on Ashigaru. Model gains in base contact, gains the dedicated blade enhancement card, if permitted, and the feat may only be successfully used once per game. So the dedicated blade, so when a model is involved in a melee exchange with a model that has the dual token, this model gains the following weapon profile. So it gains the Sacred Katana, so +1 strength, unblockable 2, and powerful attack 1. So unblockable 2, did you want to explain what unblockable 2 was?
Unblockable 2, from memory, that's the one where I get to remove your 2 highest rolled defense dice.
Yes.
It's just all kinds of cruel.
It's horrible.
Really, really going to hate coming up against this, regardless of who I'm using. I mean, I have Ito, but this just hurts everybody.
So I've seen this this blade take out Drunken Master, and I've also watched it do a lot of damage to Oni because they've got aggressive, so they have to use more combat. So they have to use more attack than defense. So you're just removing these high point guys, and you're doing your attack with unblockable. It's amazing.
Basically, you're getting the Master Sword from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's it. That's what you're getting. Yeah, so the SU stands for it's a special sort of thing. But yeah, when you purchase this model, it'll come in the box as well. And if you're missing it, contact your retailer because you want it. All right, so the other benefit that this guy gives is Hadori Finish. So basically, he's sharpening the weapons of all the guys around him. It gives them PS1 until the end phase, which is pretty good. So you just target a model, it's going to cost you that. Inspiration. This is what makes the Fire Kami or the Metal Kami really, really good. So you target one friendly model with a rice cost that's less than this model. It gains +1 melee pool or range pool into the end phase. So that's really, really cool. So it can only be done once per turn, though. So if you take 2 Fire Kami, you can only inspire 1. We'll go into his unique effects. If this model is included in your warband, you may include Ronin, Fire Kami or Metal Kami. And as I mentioned, this model may only target Fire or Metal Kami with the Inspiration Key feat. So yeah, it's really, really good. Makes them better and more reliable in shooting or combat. The Inspiration does really, really cool. So if I was to go beyond, potentially this might be a good replacement for the Haru Blacksmith. They're a bit chalk and cheese. So he provides benefit to your army by removing those tokens. So it depends on what you're going up against. This guy makes the Fire Kami better, but also gives you that blade, which is really, really nasty. So him and a Fire Kami would be a good addition to your army, or just a Fire Kami itself. We were talking about off camera. We were talking about how Minamoto don't really have a lot of range in the starter box set. So Akami, thank you. Yeah, I'm butchering these names. He's a great choice. I really like this profile. So he's a competent fighter. He's got 3 combat. He's got 4 movement, 7 sort of wounds. He's got Tansu with push attack. So he's just got a little blade on him. Just ignore those range bands below that in his melee because those have been removed. That's a typo. That's been also in the range. But he's got his discs. So he's throwing plates because he's super hungry. He's got a range banner of 4, 5, and 6. So short range 4, medium range 5, long range 6. But they've got lightweight, so you can move and throw them, which is really cool. They've got sharp and combo attack. You're going to be relying on your sharp more than the combo attack. I don't really use that combo attack much on that profile.
And you are starting with 3 dice too.
Yeah, and he can boost that that range as well if he needed to. He's got low key generation of one. Yeah, so I mean, it's part of being Minamoto. It's like a slow roll, but once you start rolling, you start doing a lot of damage. He's got armor 3. He's got bear stands alone, which is really good. But also, what's unique about him is he's immune to prone, which is really good, and he's got steadfast. I really like. I don't mind this key feat inertia for one rise. So for one key, you basically when you do a successful range, you can push the enemy 1 inch directly away from the model. It's pretty good. You can disturb the enemy line a bit, which is really good, or knock somebody out of like a zone of control, which could help you. But the one I really do like, this one is spin. So for 3, so it's a bit costly, but it increases your range band to 4, 6, and 8, and you gain strong range, which is really good. So you got a big chance of doing some actual damage on a strong range. So yeah, he would be also a great addition to the force to boost it. If you wanted to go sort of more like the army of Minamoto sort of theme, by adding more Ashigaru. Or Rio is usually my go-to because he's just very reliable. His fluff, he's taken a lot of damage over the course of time. He used to be this great sort of like hero, but he's no longer sort of the man he was. So he's a cheaper samurai, and you see that in his cost, and you see that in his ability. So he's only combat 3, but he can boost that for 3 key. Movement of 4. He's got 7 health, 2 key generation. He's got Tetsubo. He's got powerful attack 1 and stun attack 1. And you'll see in his armor, it's only armor 3, unlike Yuji. But he's also got. Yeah, he's taking damage over the years. He's not as great as he once was. But yeah, bear stands alone, great. Bravery, great. Immovable. This is what makes him great. Is he's going to be there. He's just going to be a problem. So I tend to find in my games that if I get pushed out of a zone of control or I get displaced, it causes a lot of problems. Because you've got lack of movement. You spend all that time moving into a place, you don't want to move. So that's why this guy's great, as well as that, for example, that other one, for that reason. Immovable is amazing. He's got melee prowess 1, just like all samurai. He's got steadfast, which is also like they all do. What you'll see a lack of here is resistance 2. So that's where he can be controlled. And in my sort of gaming group, there's a lot of, funny enough, dirty Orochi players, but also control. So yeah, that's something that I'd be very wary of with him, is being able to be moved into a place that I don't want him to be. His key stats are amazing. So he's got Cleave 2, which gives you Brutal 2. So for Cleave, he's got for 2 key, he gets Brutal 2. And also he's got Smite, which is amazing, which gives him Slam Attack 0. He's got Bear Resilience. So whilst this model has 4 wound markers, he gains Durable, which is great. So if just
when you think you're getting him on the ropes, then he becomes harder to kill. Yeah.
Then you start doing chip damage. So a way to counter durable is combo attack, which is really good. But yeah, it's durable is just amazing because it's like no matter what you're going to do, you're only going to take 1 damage. There's other cards that you can get down the line after the starter, which is the faction special cards, which one will be. We'll bring it up now. Hasty Bear. So Hasty Bear is when you can activate this ability at your choice. So you don't have to have any wounds. You just count as having the wounds. So if you know you're going to go up against something really, really big or or do a lot of damage, you can just activate that and go, cool, Rio's going to have that ability for this turn. Or one of the other samurai, for example, if you need that powerful attack from Yuji. Or we'll go into Nico now. Bring up Nico.
Yep.
His unique effects, which is Bear Supremacy. The simple Bear Supremacy. So, whilst the model has 4 wounds, he gains Sweep Attack 0, and the damage isn't halved, it's full damage. So with Sweep Attack, you're knocking the opponent to the ground, which is great. Makes them prone. You only do half the damage. But in this case, you ignore the half the damage rule. You're doing all the damage, which is cool. He's 18 rice. His fight is 4. You can boost it for 3. Range 3. Movement 4. 7 wounds, 2 ki. Tetsubu with +2 strength. He's got push attack 0 and stun attack. So he's got armor 4, bravery. He's got bear stands alone, melee prowess, resistance 2, split attack, and steadfast. So this is where you get the chalk and cheese sort of element of Yuji and Nico. So he's got the ability where he can potentially take out more troops. So I like to... What usually tends to happen in a game is your enemy will position like a weaker model behind something, a bit durable, or like with a bit of fight. When you're in combat with, if Nico is in combat with that fighting model and has survived the first round or whatever, what you can do is you can use your second activation to move into combat by staying into zone of control and getting into base contact with that weaker model behind it. Not a lot of people expect it, and then it's pretty cool. And then what you can do is with split attack, you can go, I'm going to attack that model and this model now in my activation. So the way split attack works is instead of melee of 4, you go to 3, and then you can attack either opponent. So that's where he's really, really good. So that's why some people prefer Nico over Yuji. I personally like both, but like Nico is a pretty good pick. And if you were to give him Obstinate Bear, you're giving him a Indomitable +1 as well, which is really, really good. There is an errata, so on this card, instead of Savage Beating 1, for 1 ki to do Savage Beating, it should be 2. But this model gains combat attack 0 till the end of the current resolution. That's combo attack's amazing. Like this is that's where you can do some real damage on samurai, on any model with a high wound count as well. It's really, really good. Yoko Men for 1 ki. Really, really good. This model, ignore dodge. Like that's really, really good, especially against something like Master Akari or something, or a Fire Akari which has got dodge. You ignore dodge, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So he would also be cool to add. Then if you were to have high sort of samurai faction, you could start going into another theme, which is like the Finest Steel. Who did you want to talk about next? Did you want to talk about Tetsu?
Yeah, let's talk about Pooh Bear.
He's the smaller bear because in Japan there are 2 different types of bears. I think it's northern Japan and southern Japan. The southern Japan has got the black bear, which is smaller. But yeah, that's how it sort of is. Anyway, Tetsu for 18 rice. He's great. He's reliable. I love him. He's fantastic. 3 combat, movement of 4. He's got bite, which is +2 strength. He's got brutal 1 with that. You can give him powerful attack or slam attack with that bite. It's pretty cool. With animals, we should mention, they don't generate ki. So he'll have ki there just in case he has to do any sort of like tests. But also, he can't have enhancement cards or anything like that. Unless the card, so let's say for down the line, a card was to come out that said, Tetsu can be equipped with this card, then you can give it to him. He's got aloof, he's got armor 1, he's got bear stands alone, he's got bravery, he's fear 6, so he terrifies most people, which is pretty cool. He's got resistance 2, light-footed, so light-footed means you can move through cover, he doesn't suffer any penalties. Steadfast and toughness of 1, which is really, really good, so he reduces the damage there, which is cool. He's got
very quickly, for those that are not aware, aloof means that he can't perform scenario actions. So whilst he can hold an objective, he can't interact with it because he's an animal.
Yeah. Bears don't prey, so he can't influence an objective. He does count towards zone of controls though. So when it comes to being out points, he's 18 points. He's gonna and he's on a 40 mil base. His unique effects, he's got bear ferocity, so whilst this model has 4 wound markers, any wounds caused by this model by a successful attack, I should say, gain a stun marker. So anytime you can do that, you weaken the enemy models really, really good. He doesn't gain slow, so if you were to take the effect Blizzard, which gives everybody slow for the first round of combat, he doesn't suffer. He doesn't care about it. He doesn't care. He's used to the mountains. He's great. This is what really makes him good. So charge bonus. So if he was to charge a model, it gains prone once you enter base contact. So you can just knock down a model, one less dice for you to fight against. Yeah, it makes picking off models really, really good. And the last part of his unique effect is he may be recruited into a Minamoto theme that doesn't specify that he or restricted to. So if it says Samurai, Ashigaru, and Blacksmith, you can have him in there, which is really cool. I like Tetsuya a lot. He's really, really good, especially for 18 rice. So now we'll get on to the new Big Bear. This guy scares everybody.
Quite literally.
Pretty much, yeah. You come up. He's a beast. He's on a 50 mil base, so he's probably the biggest model that the faction have. He's got 4 attack. Oh, sorry, he's 25 rice. He's 4 attack, movement 4. 7 health. He's got bear arms. He's got the right to bear arms, which is brutal 1. He's got charging bonus. He gains slam 0 and stun attack 1 or powerful attack 1. But his bear arm, so the bear arms cause +3 strength, which is amazing. So +3 to your damage, which is great. Or he can do bite, which gives you +1 strength, pierce 2, sharp 2, grapple 1, or throw attack 1. So he can basically charge in, grab the enemy, and go, nah, get out of my circle. Throws it, which is pretty cool. He's got aloof, just like the other, like Tetsu. Yeah, he's got bear stands alone. He's fear 6. He's immune to prone, so you can't knock down. You can't knock the biggest bear. He's light-footed, steadfast, and he's got toughness 2, so it reduces the damage. So he doesn't have any armor, but I mean, so he would be vulnerable to like close range fire, but like that toughness 2 does help you a lot. His unique effects we'll go into. He does not gain slow from blizzard, just like the other bear. He's used to being in the mountains. As or whilst this model has 4 wound markers, he gains terror. It's amazing. Did you want to read out what terror does?
I can go through that. If a model makes a fear test caused by this model, it must re-roll the test if they succeed. Models must only re-roll the same test once due to this trait. If a model with the bravery trait makes a fear test caused by this model, the effects of both traits are cancelled. Because you gain a bonus with the bravery, you lose the which makes sense.
Which is really good, especially against like samurai. So yeah, that's really, really good. So the other unique effect for this guy, which is probably the thing that makes him probably the most broken, is unless this model is surprised or exhausted at the start of the melee exchange involving this model, the enemy model gains a prone marker. If it did not perform a stand-up action or use a jump-up trait. So against your snake guys is really, really good. But yeah, it's prone. Like you're knocking things down because of his giant bulk. He's just smashing things down and going like, "Yep, no, you're down. I'm going to chew on you now."
And he's got the same. He's got the same rule as our other guy. He could be
as Tetsu.
Yeah. The thing I really like about this guy, because I would argue that this is something that you must own as part of the faction, but I don't see this being used in friendly games very often. Because it costs a lot of points, but this is a really scary model. But the thing I really like about it is that it doesn't matter. But if I'm going in to face a samurai, I've got the bite attack to get through their armor. If I'm not, I can take something else out with the bear. Like, there's something there to hurt everybody.
Yeah, he's got options, which is really, really good. But also
for 25
the fact that
points, he'd want to have some.
Yeah. He is a point sink for sure. But just that unique ability of like, I don't care, you're prone. Yep. -1 dice. Like you're like, he doesn't have aggressive, which really surprised me. I thought he was going to have aggressive, but like he doesn't. But yeah, he's amazing. Bear's Ore is also really good. Just that it makes things reliable. So you can use that hasty bear and on this and go, yep, cool. I'm activating that. You got Terra. But he's good old Kuma's pretty good. 25 rice.
So
I think. Yep.
I'm going to go through the 100-point list that we actually got.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a couple. We've thrown in a couple of options of like depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, pretty much. So the one that we ended up sticking with for this example was... So, for our 100-point list, we've got two options that we've put together. Both of them are Army of the Minamoto. Our first one is Yuji, Aya, Yoshinobu, Haru, Akemi, and Tetsu. That will take you to 93 rice, leaving you with 7 left over to grab the cards that we've also discussed earlier. Alternatively, if you remove Haru and replace him with the other blacksmith, Kajiya, and the fire kami, that will take you to exactly 100 rice. It means that you can't take any of those extra cards, but it will take you to 7 activations, which will help you in that way. Both of these could work very well, but it depends on how you want to run your force.
Yeah, so there are so you've got cards in your starter deck, which basically are really really good. So for as I mentioned, Indomitable, so Obsidian Bear, which gives you Indomitable +1. So you can add that to your guys. I think you can make your blacksmith a little bit more reliable by taking the metal totem if you wanted to as well. But then if you were to expand on this, I think definitely purchasing the Minamoto special card deck and taking the 2 cards just a scratch, which you'll bring up, which basically halving the damage that you take before the dice are rolled for damage calculation. It's an event card. You say I'm going to use this, and you half the damage. So if you know you're going to take a big hit, and that can whittle them down. You always take 2 of it. Like I never leave home without 2. And Hasty Bear, because it activates so many of your models' special abilities. So for example, Bear's Awe that we were talking about, or Bear Supremacy, or Bear Resilience, on whichever. It's so good to have that. So if you were to expand from the starter, definitely get the special cards as well as we've listed a few sort of different options here because it depends on how you wanted to play. If you wanted to lean into the samurai, get the other samurai guys. They're really really good.
So if you stick with that 93 points, add the cards that we've talked about, that takes you to 99. You could go through and find something else to make up that extra point if you really wanted to, but I think you've got a pretty good solid list there.
I would take Yeah, I would take the Obsidian Bear and give that to Aya. Makes her even better.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what I would do. But yeah, I think Minamoto starter. In fact, the Minamoto faction is a very forgiving faction, and it would be a really good starter for somebody who's just starting out and doing like, oh look, like I like samurai, or I like I want an army that is forgiving, and and they are, like, they've got the high wound count, they've got the high armor, they across the board. Like you're not the fastest guy, but you'll be able to move into a position and do a lot of damage. But yeah, it's a really really good starter. I would probably also recommend maybe the Ito starter as well as another one if you didn't want to do Minamoto.
Yeah, Ito do have a couple of things you need to get your head around, but we're going to be going through those next time.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, that's I think that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, if anybody has any questions in terms of I'm on Facebook or whatever. But yeah, I'm always happy to talk about Minamoto. Yeah, I love them. They're a great faction.
Come across onto our Discord channel. There is a specific channel in there for Bushido if you'd like to talk about it. We are actually using these things. Thank you very much for checking out this video. If you're enjoying the content of this channel, please like and subscribe. If you're in a position to do so, please check out patreon.com/gettingtabled. You receive early access to at least 80% of all videos that we put out, and you get access to the video edition of all of our podcasts the day that they're uploaded. If you'd like to check us out on social media, Facebook.com/gettingtabled is the most active. We also have a Discord server. You can email our team at gettingtabled@gmail.com. If you're on either Twitter or Instagram, you can find us at gettingtabled. And until next time, play more.